Okay, so we are in new document panel. We are going to take inches and then go for 12 by 15.5 inches. Okay, so we're going to make the resolution 300 pixel per inch, and then the rest we're going to leave it. Click create. So first things first, we need a gradient. So let's come down here, click on this guy, and then on the list from the top, the second is the gradient. Click on that, and then from here you click on the gradient field, and then you pick basics and then click the first one, and then from here this side we are just going to take white and then click OK. Then on the right side we are going to input a hex code. So the code is on the screen, you can copy that. Then we go ahead and click OK, then click OK from here. Then that's what we have. Click OK. So the next thing is we are going to bring our first background, and that will be UEFA image. So let's go into our folder where we have our stock images, drag in this image. So I'm going to rotate and resize it like this, place it here. Now I don't need the whole image, right? I just need to clear the lower part off without deleting it. I want to hide it for the meantime. So with the layer selector, I'm going to click on this guy to add a layer mask. Now nothing happens unless you take the brush and then increase the brush size. You can right click and this pops up, then you can increase the size from here, and now just increase it a little bit. Okay, this is good. Now make sure the foreground is black. So if it is not black, click and choose black. Now let's make sure the flow is a little bit lower, or let's bring it down somewhere half. Just bring it down. Then you start brushing over the areas where you want to hide. We are not deleting, we are just hiding them. All right, so you can just bring them back by choosing foreground white, which is the opposite. Now we don't want it like this. You're going to blend it with what? A blend mode. So come here where we have the normal, click, you pick overlay, which is here, click on that, and now you see we have a new effect. Now we are going to add curves adjustment layer. Okay, so just click on the icon right here, choose curves. Now just on the bar, just click anywhere on the bar. Okay, and the inputs and output fields up here. So in the input you input 164 and then the output 117. All right, and then we have this effect taking place. Okay, so we are good to go. And before we bring in the next image, let's resize and rotate this background image a bit. All right, so let's go in and bring the next image, but before that let's select the topmost layer. Okay, so that when we bring in the image it will be on top. Okay, so let's drag and drop this. Is it Wembley? Yeah, Wembley Stadium. And I chose this because that's where the event is going to take place. So after resizing, let's go to the blending options, and then let's choose multiply, which is number 4 on the list. Click that, and now we need to hide pixels. Okay, so let's add layer mask, and then grab our brush tool. Make sure foreground is black. You can lower the flow, then you start brushing the areas that we don't want. Okay, so you are just going to remove the bar on top, and I'm going to resize or decrease the size of the brush. Right click for this pop-up menu, then you can decrease the brush from there, then increase the flow a little bit. Then I will just brush off the strings that is over there. Let's clear it out. All right, so I will increase the brush and then go ahead and sweep it below here. I'll just clear this sharp edge over here, so I just brush over that to blend it. Now let me increase the size, so Control T, and then you just increase the size from there. After that you go ahead and click on the layer mask so that it will be active before you cannot brush. So let me decrease the size back to its previous size. Now let's go into our stock and bring in this image, Jude Bellingham, one of my favorites. So let's right click and flip horizontal, and then resize and place it here. We had to send it to the back of the stadium, but for the meantime let's maintain it. So let's add layer mask, grab the brush, resize it, let's make it smaller, and then brush the lower part. All right, so after this we are going to bring in the next image, which is a player from the opposing team, which is this guy. Who is he? I don't even know him. All right, let's decrease the size and place it here. Make sure they are equal in size or similar in size. Then click OK. Then let's add layer mask. All right, and then grab the brush, then wipe this area off. Okay, can decrease the flow to have a smooth blend. Okay, so let's click on Bellingham's image, and then its layer will be selected. Let's go to filter and camera raw filter. Let's increase the exposure of this image. Now when you click on the image, you can zoom in from there. So let's increase the exposure and click OK to brighten up this image a little. Now we are done with these two for now. Okay, so let's go in and bring in the trophy. We are going in and bringing in. Okay. All right, so it's behind the player's image, sake of its layer is below it. So let's scroll up, drag it to the top, and it will come in front. Okay, so let's find a place to put this. All right, so I think here is good. Control T, and let's resize the size a bit, and then press enter. So we are going to add exposure. Okay, we are going to add two exposures. So let's come down here and then click and select exposure. Make sure you clip it. Click on this guy to clip it, so it will affect only the trophy. Then what, you increase the exposure. Control I to invert, which means you are putting the exposure behind the scene. Then you take the brush, then with the foreground being white, you just brush over the areas where you want to bring what, light. Okay, so when you brush, the exposure will start appearing. All right, that's the invert, which is Control I. So now let's add the second exposure. Select exposure and then decrease the exposure a little. Click on this guy so that it will affect only the trophy. Control I to put this exposure behind the scene, and then we start brushing towards bring out the darkness. Make sure foreground is what, white, else you're not going to see any changes, because white brings out the effect and black hides everything. Okay, so that's that. We are only applying it below the trophy. Now let me zoom in a little and then use foreground black, and then let's hide this portion of what, the shadows. So let's bring out light. Okay, so that's that. So now let's go and select the layer of the trophy. Okay, you can just toggle the eye to see, then select the layer below it, and then create a new layer on top. Click this guy to add a new layer, and then increase the brush size. Go ahead and bring the flow to 100. Increase the brush again, then click. Now we don't want yellow, we want black, so let's pick black from here. Click. Now Control T on the keyboard, and this time hold Alt and Shift on the keyboard, then click and drag on the top right anchor point to tweak the shape of this what, shadow, so that you can get an oval shape like this. Now let's bring it to the bottom of the trophy. Let's send it here. Okay, and also let's decrease the length of it. Okay, so now let's click OK. Now we need a glow light around it. Okay, we are not importing any image in here, so let's go and add a new layer on top, and then grab the brush, decrease the size a bit, and then let's go and pick this blue color from the blue wavelength, whatever color it is, and let's change the blend mode to color dodge. Now when we click, we actually have a glow light. Okay, so just click around the trophy, but make sure you lower the flow so that you don't get too sharp and bright effect at once. So you reduce the flow, then you just add the glow bit by bit until you reach what, the amount that you want. Okay, so I'm just going to add few clicks, and then we are good to go. So continue adding few glow lights. If you see me stop, then you stop. So once again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly subscribe to my channel. So kindly like this video, leave a comment, and this time I'm sharing PSD of this or any tutorials that I make, because people will be asking, but but I lost the previous PSDs. That's why I don't reply to such comments. So a big sorry to all those who asked for PSDs but didn't get any reply. I'm so sorry. I lost the PSDs of the previous tutorials. Okay, so this time I'm sharing PSDs in my Telegram channel, so check in the comment section for the link to my Telegram channel. So let's continue. Click the background and it will be selected. Okay, so make sure you select the Bellingham's image layer, which is this one. Toggle it to see if it's the layer you are looking for, or make your life simple by naming your layers. Okay, so I'm going to select the layer below the stadium, then go in and bring this image. Let's drag it into Photoshop. Okay, and since the layer of the stadium, I made it multiply, you can see that you can see through the player's image. But don't worry, just add a layer mask and then go ahead and take the brush. Make sure foreground is black. If you want to hide, then brush over the areas that we want to hide. Okay, so I'll just brush over here. Then after that, I'll add a new layer on top. So you click to add a new layer, and then you make sure the foreground is black. Then we add shadows at the place where his right arm is disappearing behind the front image. Okay, so we're just going to add a shadow over there. So we are just going to put a small shadow over there. Don't make it too dark. All right, so this is good. Now let's go in and bring the next image. So let's go into our stock folder and bring this guy right here. So I'm going to resize it and then right click and flip horizontal and then place it here. Click OK. And this image is too dark, so let's go to filter, camera raw filter. Then let's go ahead and increase the exposure of this image. Okay, and then go ahead and click OK. Now let's go ahead and add a layer mask so that we can brush the lower part of. So let's do that quickly because we've been doing it. So we just need to add a shadow at where we did, just like the previous one. So let's add a new layer, and then we just grab the brush with foreground black, and then we brush over here so that it will look like shadows. Okay, so just small shadows over here. And I decided not to include too much shadows in this design. Okay, just for it to look like there's light coming out from everywhere, eliminating too much shadows. Okay, so let's add small shadows over there and we are good to go. So let's continue, and the next thing that we're going to do is to send the layer of the stadium. Click on that and it will be selected. So we are going to drag it on top of all the layers of the players. Okay, so you can see that the one below it is the layer of the player. Okay, so create a new layer below the layer of the stadium, and then grab the brush tool and then increase the size a little. Now when you hold down Alt on the keyboard, it will turn to eyedropper tool. Okay, then you can click anywhere to pick a color. So you click on the yellow of the shirt, then you grab that, change the blend mode to linear dodge, then go ahead and set the brush flow to about half, then start brushing where I'm brushing. All right, so where the stadium and the players meet is where we are brushing. Okay, so I'm going to brush yellow on this side, hold Alt, sample white, and then brush over. Let me decrease the flow, and then brush over these areas. Okay, so with the brush tool, if you hold down Alt, it turns to eyedropper, then you click to select a color, or you click to pick a color, then you start brushing. All right, so I think this is good. Now what you are going to do is click on the stadium. When you click on that, its layer will be selected. Then you click on the layer mask, then you grab the brush, then start hiding. Let's hide the edges of the stadium. Okay, so we are brushing to hide the edges so that we can blend those edges into the background, just like this. Okay, so continue brushing till it becomes like mine right here. So after this, let's go to the layers panel and then scroll to the top and select the topmost layer. So select this and add a new layer on top of it. Let's go into the brush panel. If you don't have it here or can't find it, just go to Windows and then at the top here we have brushes. Click that and it will float right here. Now I have so many brushes in here, so I'm going to scroll down to the brush that we're going to use. The link is in the description. Check the resources, it is in for this brush. Okay, you pick the second one, then you set the flow to 100, pick white color because when you click it will be yellow, so let's pick white. Then we add few smoke effect on the left and then the right. Now this brush is included in the resources, the link is in the description. The name of this brush is powder brushes. Okay, so you just grab that and then you use it. Okay, so now for the first time in the history of my tutorials, I'm going to name a layer. All right, so let's make it smoke, then select the layer below it so that when we bring in the new image, it will be behind the smoke. Okay, so let's go into our stock folder and bring in this image. Let's drag it into Photoshop and I'm going to resize it and place it on the left. All right, let me decrease the size a little. I will increase it back, but for now let me make it smaller and then place it here. Hit OK. Now we're good. So let's go back into our stock images and then grab the next image, which is this guy, the opposite, but let's resize it in a way it will be almost equal in size with the other. So let's place it right and then hit enter or come to the top and click OK. Now let's go to filter camera raw, click on that, and the bottom here you see vibrance. Let's increase the vibrance to enrich the yellow or bring back the yellow. I don't know if they give him only one JC, his one has faded too much. All right, so let's go below the layers of the two new images that we imported. Okay, so let's select the exposure down there, then we create a new layer on top. Okay, so let's grab the brush tool. Now we don't want this brush, let's grab a soft round brush and then with foreground black, you can press D on the keyboard to switch back to black, or you can just pick black. Okay, click once and then Control T, just as we did, Alt and Shift, then you can turn it into this shape and then you place it below where it has to be. Okay, so where I'm placing mine, place yours there. I hope you all got the resources, or you can even use different images. Okay, so just lower the opacity of the shadow. Let me go ahead and zoom in, and with the move tool, hold Alt and drag to duplicate to the right, resize it and then lower the opacity because it's too dark, it's even behind smoke. So let's lower the opacity. Okay, click OK and then let's duplicate one to the left and then resize it. Okay, so let's place it here and we're good to go. Now the next step is we're going to use another brush. Okay, and it's included in the resources. So let's click on the image of Vinicius Jr. to select its layer. Okay, so when you click on that, his layer will be selected, then you add a new layer on top of it. Go to your brush panel and then grab the Crest New Particles brush. Okay, it's included in the resources. You just pick the first one, then in the brush settings you just deactivate dot shape dynamics, then you start using it. So with this brush we are going to add particles. Okay, so let's decrease the size of this brush and then make sure the flow is at 100 and then we are picking white. Okay, so let's choose white. Now let's start brushing to add particles. Then on the right side you just pick a yellow color and then you start adding what particles. So we are going to add few particles over there. Okay, so I think we are good. Now let's click on this guy, Control T, and then let's resize the image. Let's make it bigger a little. All right, so you're good. Let's click OK and then make the other guy to what, bigger. And as I'm increasing the size, you can see that the shadows are being misplaced. So let's zoom in and then click on each shadow to put them at their right places. Okay, so let me toggle this guy and select it, and now I'll click and drag it below this left foot. Okay, so click OK and we are good. Are we good now? What we need to do is let's select the glue light, toggle it. Yeah, that's the glue light. Grab the brush, sample a color from here, lower the flow, and then start extending the glue light. So I'm going to extend the glue light with few clicks, and then we move on to the next step, which is very exciting. So as we keep on extending the glue light, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly subscribe to my channel, like this video, leave a comment. So in moving on, let's go ahead and grab the pen tool. You can press P on the keyboard or locate it right here. Now with the pen tool, we are going to make a straight line. So click and come and click here. Now on the control panel, you can take away the fill by clicking this guy and then increase the size of the stroke from here. Then we pick white for the stroke. Now click this guy and then choose the second one, which is the dashed lines, so that the effect will be applied. Now let's go for the ellipse tool and then come and create small ellipse. So I'll just click and drag to create my ellipse. Then on the properties panel, I'll just take away the stroke and then add a fill, which is white. Okay, so let me zoom in and then drag this ellipse to one end of the dashed line, then hold Alt on the keyboard, click and drag this guy to the other end. Okay, now let's duplicate the last one and then bring it to the top right here. Okay, so it looks like a triangle, so we are going to duplicate the dash line, Alt, click and drag to duplicate. Now let's rotate and try connecting it to the other end. Okay, so we are just creating a triangle out of this, so let's duplicate the last one and then rotate it and connect the top. Okay, so let's go ahead and click OK. Now click on the first line and then let's drag its layer to the top. Okay, you can send it to the topmost. You just want it to come forward. All right, just want it in front of the player, just like this. Okay, and the other ones will be behind the player. Okay, so now press A for the direct selection tool, or go for it. It's right here, and then click one end, this end, then drag it to join it to the ellipse. Okay, so with the direct selection tool, you can just tweak lines or paths. All right, so we are good. Let's select all the shapes that we got right here. So hold down Shift and then click each of them to add them into one selection. Okay, so I'm holding down Shift as I click each of the shapes. Now I have all of them selected, so let's go ahead and click Ctrl J on the keyboard to duplicate, Ctrl T to have them like this, then drag them to this side so that we can rotate it like this. So you do as I'm doing right here, you just watch and do the same thing. And this side too, we just need to send one to the back. Okay, so let's click on this guy and then let's send its layer to the bottom somewhere below the image. Okay, so that it will be behind the player, just like this. Simple as that. Okay, so right now we have a good looking progress. Now let's add the title. So click the background and then grab the text tool and then type UCL final. All right, now from here let's click this guy to take away the underline, then change the color to white. Click OK. Then from here we just change the font. Now the name of the font is Evil Empire. It will be included in the resources. Check the description for it. Now after we resize it, you see it's behind the players, so let's right click on the layer. But before that, let me drag it on top of the curves, the first curves that we did. Now right click on the layer and then select rasterize type. Okay, so now let me send the title to the top a little and then hit Ctrl T If this pops up, then click on the warp, then you choose from here arc. Now mine has already been increased, so I will decrease the bend. Okay, if yours is 0, you just increase the bend, okay, to make it look like this. So let me decrease it a little and then go ahead and click OK from here. Now you're good. So let me decrease the size. Okay, so now we are good from here. With the title layer selected, just come and click FX right here, blending options, and now we choose drop shadow. So 55 opacity, 13 distance, and then 10 for the size. Then go ahead and click OK. All right, so that's that. So it's left with one more text on top here. So I will just grab the text tool and then type London 24, and then go ahead and change the font to Montserrat, and then decrease the size and place it somewhere here. Now this is looking fantastic. Okay, make sure you tag me when you finish designing yours. So let's grab the rectangle tool and then make a perfect square right here with the help of the Alt and Shift. Okay, so let's go ahead and duplicate one to the left. Alt on the keyboard, click and drag. Okay, so let's change the color to this. And then let's change the color of the other one. Okay, so the code is on the screen. All right, now let's go into our stock images and bring the logos. So the first one that we are going to bring will be that of Dortmund. Just right here, I'm just going to click and drag it into Photoshop. And don't worry where it appears, just resize it into a smaller size and place it on the square, right? And then from there you go and click OK. Then you go inside your stock and you bring in the Madrid. Then you do the same thing for it. Now as you can see, the smoke is covering the logo too much, so let's select the smoke, Control T, and then resize it. Let's make it bigger a little so that it won't cover the logo too much. Okay, now let's duplicate one of the squares to the right. Okay, then let's send its layer, since it's behind the smoke too much, let's send its layer to the top. But before that, let's change the color first. So pick this color. Now let's go ahead and send the layer to the top of the smoke. Okay, so we just drag its layer to the top of the smoke. So we're good. Let's go and bring in the UEFA logo. So it's right here. Let me drag it into Photoshop. Now let's resize it and place it on top of the blue shape. Okay, so let's resize it and place it on top. Now you can see it's not contrasting, so let's go to FX, blending options. This time let's choose color overlay. Now you can change the color that you want. Let's take white, click OK from here, then click OK. It's looking good. Let's center it. Now I'm going to paste the time, date, and venue. So I'll just paste the text right here and then drag them to the bottom. So it's gonna stay here, and let me paste the next one, which is match day and the name of the teams or both teams. Okay, so that's that. I'll just drag it here, and I know you can do this. This is very simple. That's why I'm pasting. Okay, so the last thing that we are going to do is very interesting. We are going to reflect the trophy. So click on the trophy, and when you click on that, the adjustment layers will be selected. So you just have to make sure you select the layer of the trophy itself, hit Ctrl J to duplicate, then select the one below the duplicate, hit Ctrl T, right click, flip vertical, and then drag it to the bottom of the original. All right, now go ahead and click OK. Now let's go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, Let's blur it a little, and then let's lower the opacity. Then after that, we are going to add a layer mask. Grab the brush with foreground black, and then let's start wiping this area off. Okay, so let's go ahead and tweak the opacity for the last time, and now you're good. All right, so that's all that. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly subscribe to my channel. If you enjoyed this video, like it, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and I'm out. Peace.